Hey there! Welcome back to Legend Finance. In today's video, we're diving into the intriguing world of the Mr. Money Moustache Formula. This philosophy is all about achieving financial freedom sooner than you ever thought possible. Remember, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more financial wisdom. So let's jump right in and unravel the mystery of the Mr. Money Moustache Formula. Ever heard of Pete Adeney, better known as Mr. Money Moustache? He's this guy who totally shunned consumer culture, living so frugally that he managed to retire when he was just 30. How'd he pull it off? By avoiding car usage, embracing DIY, and investing wisely in stock market index funds. He's part of this FIRE group. It's short for Financial Independence, Retire Early. Reporter Paul Solman even had a chat with him over in Colorado for the Making Sense series. Guess what? Pete Adeney, or as we know him, Mr. Money Moustache, always rides his bike when leaving his home in Longmont, Colorado. Super thrifty, right? When asked about his annual spending, he says it's about $25,000 to $27,000, and that's for a family of 3, plus low 30 health insurance. He and his followers, the Moustachians, are major players in this FIRE movement, which means financial independence, retire early. And they're not kidding about the early part. Pete and his wife said goodbye to their engineering jobs in 2005. They were both in their 30s. You won't believe this. Mark Ebersole, 37, and Sina Ebersole, 35, aren't working anymore. Neither are Michael and Ellen Robinson, both 38, who quit full-time work 2 years ago. Their secret? Save early, save lots, and let compound interest do its magic. And our Mr. Money Moustache, he saved 50 to 75% of his engineer's salary over 9 years. We lived a bit more modestly than others on our pay scale. In the US, we usually spend all we earn, but we chose differently, Pete explains. When asked about his savings, Pete says it's about $1.1 million. We figured that'd be enough to last us. On his blog, Adeney espouses the so-called 4% rule. If you save and invest 25 times your annual spending, you can then withdraw 4% of your savings each year of retirement. But isn't that market risky? What is the 4% rule? Have you heard about the 4% rule? It's a guideline retirees use to figure out how much money they can pull from their retirement fund each year. The idea? Keep the income flow steady without draining the account too quickly. You're basically living off the interest and dividends from your savings. But not all experts agree on the 4% figure. Some, including the dude who came up with the rule, reckon 5% is a better number, except for when things go really south. Then there are those who think playing it safer with a 3% withdrawal rate makes more sense, given the current interest rate climate. Pete Adeney breaks it down like this. Investing in index funds puts your money into thousands of companies across the economy. Sure, it's conservative and yeah, the stock market's going to have its ups and downs. But if you're only drawing a small bit, like 4% each year, those fluctuations won't faze you. Stock market crashes, you're still pulling out your 4%. Stock market on the rise, still just taking out 4%. It all balances out over time. According to Paul Solman, Pete's advice is pretty straightforward. Don't splurge on stuff you don't really need and cut back on the driving. Pete's top tip for a richer life? Ditch the car more often. He insists that driving is way more expensive than most of us realize. Sure, we think about the cost of gas, but the real cost is around 5 times that. Imagine gas at $15 a gallon. That's how costly driving truly is, according to Pete. All those costs, depreciation, maintenance, and insurance, add up. But Pete manages to save a bundle because he's big on DIY. He literally built the house they live in now almost entirely by himself. Plumbing, flooring, electricity. Pete handles it all. He even made a joke about doing his own heart surgery if it were safe. Here's a cool update from Paul Solman. Last year, Pete breathed new life into a rundown building on Longmont's Main Street. He turned it into a co-working hub for fellow Moustachians and added a unique feature, a tiny house conference room. The entire transformation cost just about $3,000 for materials, partly sourced from Craigslist. And the best part? There's an actual apple tree growing on top of this tiny house. Talk about workspace goals. Plus, keeping it stocked with munchies doesn't cost much. Ellen Robinson, another smart saver, shares her secret with Paul Solman, thrift store shopping. As Ellen puts it, why buy new when you can get something like this from the loft for $8 instead of $50? When it comes to their home, Ellen, her husband Michael, and their 2 kids pretty much stick to hand-me-downs. Even their furniture came from Michael's office when it downsized, and a friend gifted them a lamp, so secondhand doesn't mean second best. Their thrifty approach extends to pretty much everything in the Robinson household. The coffee table, a resale store gem. And guess what? Even their family car is pre-owned. Ellen happily shares, "We picked up this 2007 Prius used for just $8,000 about 4 years ago. It's got around 195,000 miles on it, but it's still perfect for us." But it's not just about secondhand buys and DIY fixes. According to Paul Solman, a common theme among the FIRE folks is smart use of credit cards. Ellen breaks it down. They get 6% back on groceries, 3% on gas, and another 3% on department store purchases, all just by using their cards strategically. And guess what? Despite their already frugal lifestyle, they believe they could tighten the belt even further. Michael Robinson, a former salesman who still consults a day or two a week, reckons they could dip below the $44,500 they spent last year. Now that's a commitment to saving. The Robinsons' budget isn't stretched thin, not by a long shot. There's some wiggle room there. When Paul Solman asked them if they ever felt the pride, Ellen quickly responded, "No, I do not feel the pride." Michael echoed the sentiment, saying, "No, we don't." But don't mistake them for being immune to the allure of consumerism. Ellen admits, "I'm not above temptation. If I walk into a mall, I'm just as drawn to all those things as anyone else." Yet she's disciplined. She has a mental dialogue, a constant reminder to intentionally resist buying those shiny new things. And one more thing, she very intentionally stays away from malls. That's how they maintain their financial independence. Going out to eat? That's a rarity for the Robinsons. Now that they're retired, they have loads of time to cook up a storm and enjoy meals at home with their kids. But this raises a question, doesn't it? What about the many Americans who simply don't earn enough to save anything, let alone the hefty sums that Pete Adeney recommends? Pete Adeney acknowledges that yes, there are people who genuinely struggle to save, but he also believes almost everyone can do a little better. His point? The less you earn, the more you benefit from tracking your spending. He points out that while the median household income in the U.S. is around $60,000, the best-selling vehicle is a $30,000 plus F-150 pickup truck. In his view, that's the issue. We tend to spend just a bit more than we can actually afford. Paul Solman notes that Pete Adeney's path might not be achievable for everyone. Even in retirement, Pete earns enough from his blog to exceed his annual $25,000 budget, yet he sticks to it. Why? For him, reducing consumption isn't solely about saving money. Pete believes it's ethically wrong to drive a gas-guzzling six-wheel diesel pickup truck when more eco-friendly options, like biking or picking a practical car, exist. Immoral because it pollutes the atmosphere. Paul Solman queries, Pete agrees, saying, "Yes, it's about your impact on others and the environment. I mean, you're burning much more fossil fuel just to lug your small self around." Not all of Pete Adeney's followers can squirrel away savings at the Moustachian level. Take Michelle Jackson, for instance. She attended a pop-up business school at Pete's co-working space to learn how to boost her income, save more, and hopefully retire early. Michelle acknowledges that many people want to reach financial independence but might need to pay off debts first before they can start investing. When Paul Solman asked Michelle about her current debt, she said, "Excluding my student loans, I'm focusing on about $11,000. And it's not just those in debt who find the journey challenging. Even for debt-free high earners like Mark and Sina Ebersole, starting on the path to financial independence was no small feat. For Sina Ebersole, the journey towards financial independence was tough at first. The concept of cutting back and saving more was foreign, and quite frankly, she didn't like it. She even questioned if they were missing out on their best years. But now, 10 years later, she's glad they made those sacrifices. As a former dance instructor and with Mark, an engineer, they now only work when they choose to. Currently, they're working on a passion project, opening a ballroom dance hall with a social focus. Like Sina, Ellen Robinson also savors the fruits of her frugality. They're all part of the FIRE movement, men and women who are keen on gaining financial independence through a life of mindful spending and saving. Ellen Robinson puts it this way, "It's not about shunning work completely. It's about the freedom that comes from not having to work. Her kids are 4 and 2 years old, and she's at home with them every day. And the best part? She doesn't have to stress over whether they can afford groceries. That's the real value of financial independence for her." For Pete Adeney, the ultimate goal is simple, to live a happy life and maybe leave the world a bit better than he found it. He's dabbled in small businesses like carpentry, alongside being a dad, doing some writing, and playing music. Now if he's lucky, he's looking at another 55 years of retirement. He's promised to keep us posted on how it goes. And you can bet that as long as he's around, Paul Solman will be eager to hear all about it. That wraps up our dive into the Mr. Money Mustache formula here at Legend Finance. Remember, the road to financial independence might have its twists and turns, but with perseverance, intelligent decisions, and some mustachian wisdom, it's truly within our reach. Thank you for being with us today. Until next time, keep saving, keep investing, and most importantly, stay legendary.